Joining me on the phone line from Ramallah is Daniele Pagani. Daniele, good afternoon. Prime Minister Modi has landed in Ramallah. He's laid a wreath at the mausoleum of Yasser Arafat. What next in his itinerary?
His itinerary is a visit where I am currently right now, which is inside the presidential palace of Palestine. The guard of honor is deployed. We are all waiting. In this very moment, in front of me, there is the president of Palestine, Mahmoud Abbas, walking on the red carpet and meeting the Indian Prime Minister, Narendra Modi. They will exchange courtesies and formalities in this very place. The first chopper carrying the Prime Minister's staff has landed nearly 15 minutes ago. Everything is set, the security is set. We are all waiting right now. After these, they will have a quick business lunch, and then there will be a moment where all the memorandum of understandings that are much awaited will be signed, and all the media will be briefed. As of now, everyone is ready. The guard of honor is deployed. They're waiting, and the president of Palestine, Mahmoud Abbas, is on the red carpet waiting the arrival, which means that the Prime Minister of India is certainly on his way and will arrive in seconds, if not minutes.
Right, so as Daniele mentioned, we are looking ahead to the ceremonial guard of honor that is expected to begin in moments from now. And just to give our viewers a background of what to expect in the ceremonial welcome, Prime Minister will be received by President Mahmoud Abbas before the ceremonial welcome in the compound of the presidential headquarters, also known as Mukatha. The President headquarters of Ramallah is the compound that encompasses the office of the President, office of advisors to President, in addition to the headquarters of the Presidential Guard. Now, the building was constructed during the British Mandate over Palestine and was used by the Jordanian administration between 1948 and 1967, and later was used by the Israeli administration from 1967 to 1995. Now, after the establishment of the Palestinian National Authority, with the signing of the Oslo Accords between the State of Israel and the PLO, it became the office cum residence of the late President Yasser Arafat. After President Mahmoud Abbas assumed office, the presidential headquarters was renovated and continues to function mainly as the President's office. All right, joining me live again from Ramallah and also the studio is Ambassador Singh. While Daniele keeps track of the events in Ramallah. Ambassador Singh, coming to you now, we've discussed the broad four corners of the visit, specifically looking ahead at the agreement that is expected to sign. Can you flesh out for us the key areas one can expect to be focused on in that bilateral between the two principals?
So I think in the bilateral, clearly there will be some discussion on the Israel-Palestine issue and the peace process. And I'm sure the Palestinian president would like to share with our Prime Minister his perspective on how the peace process is evolving, how the U.S. decision related to declaring from their point of view Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, what is likely impact on the peace process, on the Palestinian people, the direction of politics within Israel, how that is impacted on the peace process. So I'm sure that will be a very important area for discussion, because that would be uppermost in the minds of the Palestinian leaders, because they have been, in a sense, living under occupation since 1967, and they would like to see some forward movement on that. For them also that is important, because they would be seeing that across the Arab world, the commitment to the Palestinian issue and cause is perhaps not what it was earlier. That Palestinian people who have gone as refugees to many of the Arab countries as refugees and are not fully integrated into those societies. And many of the Arab countries who have been supportive of the Palestinian issue have been building relations with Israel.
Sure.
So I think they would like to look at all that. And there will be some reference to the bilateral areas of cooperation, building on the work that we are doing in information technology in terms of education, healthcare, and those would be of...
Right, and these are the live visuals coming to us from the presidential palace in Ramallah, where President Mahmoud Abbas has received Prime Minister Modi, and he is inspecting the guard of honor. Let's watch these visuals for now. All right, so they are watching the live visuals of Prime Minister Modi inspecting the Guard of Honor at Ramallah, flanked by President Mahmoud Abbas of Palestine. This, viewers, is a historic moment, the first ever visit by a sitting Prime Minister of India to Ramallah. Prime Minister Modi becoming the first Prime Minister to visit Palestine, and the first visit by a world leader to Ramallah after the UNGA vote that criticized the recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. So we'll stay on these visuals for now. Prime Minister Modi inspecting the Guard of Honor at Ramallah at the Presidential Palace. He arrived in Ramallah at about 10:10 in the morning local time. And since then, he has laid a wreath as the mausoleum of late Palestinian President Yasser Arafat and also toured the Yasser Arafat Museum. And now he's inspecting the Guard of Honor at the Presidential Palace in Ramallah, flanked by President Mahmoud Abbas of Palestine. All right, joining me now is our special guest live on Skype from Jerusalem, Dr. Mahdi Abdul Hadi. He is the chairman of the Palestinian Academic Society for the Study of International Affairs. Dr. Hadi, good afternoon, and thank you again for joining us on WION this afternoon. As we are watching these live visuals of Prime Minister Modi interacting with the Palestinian leadership, your thoughts on both symbolism and substance of this ongoing visit?
In terms of symbols, it's wonderful to see the two flags recognizing each other on occupied territories, occupied Ramallah, occupied West Bank, occupied Palestinian territories. You come here with your flag, with your sovereign state, to recognize a Palestinian prisoners under Israeli occupation, controlled, contained, crushed, depressed by the Israeli occupation. It might be a message to the Israelis that I'm here too, I do recognize the Palestinian cause. It might appear, because Israelis today are too busy with their war on Syria, on Hezbollah, on northern, southern Lebanon, and they are shifting a different direction. They are happy and enjoying their arms sale to India, the billions of dollars there. But for us, this is merely symbolic for the time being, merely acknowledgement of the Palestinian cause, merely going back to the history of Nehru, Gandhi, Nasser, Tito, non-alignment. That position, we still feel close to that history. But your people are telling us, don't talk about history, let's talk about reality. It's business-like relationship. We benefit from the Israeli arms sale and technology. What we can benefit from you but ethics and history. The question today is the question of ethics and values and principles. Do you stand not only in diplomatic meeting and endorsing this position or that, in translating your recognition of the state of Palestine by being here in Jerusalem, 200 million Indian Muslims to visit and to pray in Al-Aqsa Mosque and to say, this is ours, you cannot take it, you cannot change the status quo. This is the challenge.
Dr. Hadi, also, I want you to weigh in on the symbolism again of Prime Minister Modi becoming the first world leader to visit Ramallah after the UNGA vote, and also becoming one of those few world leaders to arrive in Ramallah bypassing Israeli territory. Your thoughts, Dr. Hadi?
And we are expecting him in the press conference to emphasize again the recognition of the state of Palestine, recognition of Jerusalem as our capital, recognition of maintaining, respecting, honoring the status quo of the holy site in Jerusalem. Things are still yet to be seen. Is this man is going to translate what he believes in or his interest with the Israelis? We didn't mind that he was embracing Netanyahu and working with Netanyahu. Yet Netanyahu is a colonizer, is an occupier, is a killer. His hand is full of blood. This is what we want to see, a clear position by India and exchange of relationship. We would like to see your professors, your academics in our universities. We would like to see this translation of recognition to action on the ground and not only verbal symbolic visits.
All right, Dr. Hadi, do stay on. I want to go back across one more time to my colleague Daniele Bagani, who is joining us on the phone line from Ramallah. Daniele, the Prime Minister has just inspected the Guard of Honor. What should we expect to happen from now onwards?
I am sorry, Ramesh, I wasn't able to hear your question. Could you please repeat it?
Daniele, we've just seen the Prime Minister complete the inspection of the Guard of Honor. Where is he headed now, and what's happening around you as we speak?
As of now, the Guard of Honor is leading the main courtyard of the presidential palace after Prime Minister Narendra Modi's inspection. He is now holding talks with the President of Palestine, Mahmoud Abbas. It was a warm welcome. It was a much-awaited meeting. Now they will be talking about many issues. That there is a lot on the table in this visit. Remember, Ramesh, that this visit comes at a time when turbulence is again on in Palestine. Why so? The United States of America recently decided to shift their embassy from Tel Aviv to the wholly contested city of Jerusalem, which is something that Palestine heavily criticized. Remember, Jerusalem is considered by the Palestinians their own capital city. Also, the United States decided to cut funds to the United Nations agency, the UNRWA, which takes care of the Palestinian refugees through projects in the education sector especially, but also in the welfare state. And the Arab world, unfortunately, the Arab League, as I gathered speaking with many of the Palestinians here, is not doing enough to help them. So this is a much-awaited meeting. There is a lot on the table. The Palestinians want to understand if India is truly committed to independently support their cause. Certainly, what the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, did was a very, very nice, clever and appreciated gesture. The fact that he's traveling here from Amman without crossing Israel is in itself a strong message which already partially answers some of the anxieties and questions that are here in Palestine among the people and among the political class. This is one of the main points, understanding what is the political stand of India when it comes to Palestine. Then they will talk about education, improving the education. India is already investing in a very big training diplomacy center. It is in that center that the Palestinian youth will learn in the years to come how to become ambassadors and perpetrate diplomacy and negotiations. And this has been entirely funded and pushed by India. Again, another point that will be on the table is agriculture and agricultural development. There is really a lot on the table. To put it with the words that a Palestinian citizen told me yesterday, we need everything because we lost everything. And India, a long-standing friend, can help us in this.
Right, Daniele, as we are waiting for the resumption of the bilateral talks between the two principals in about 5 or 10 minutes from now, give us a flavor, if you will, of your travels in Palestine and interacting with the ordinary Palestinian men, women and children on the streets of Ramallah and other parts of Palestine. Give us a flavor, if you will, of what they expect to achieve towards the end of Prime Minister Modi's visit in terms of both symbolism and substantive issues that are on the table, as you mentioned.
There is great expectation, Ramesh, mixed with anxiety. Everyone told me that in the deep of their heart, they know that India will keep supporting Palestine. They always know that India has been on their side. As a matter of fact, when the United Nations was requested to vote on the Jerusalem issue, India remained independent and voted against the decision of the United States of recognizing Jerusalem, of helping Israel to make Jerusalem their capital city. So politically and inside, in the depth of their heart, all Palestinians know that India is a friend, is helpful, and they very much appreciated the hastenation of the visit. It is the first time for them, and they were surprised. They told me, we were shocked when we saw that Israel and India were warming their ties, but we were extremely positively shocked as well when we saw the Prime Minister Narendra Modi decided to go to Amman before and then to come to Pakistan without going to Israel. It means for them that India is not subject to any political request, either from the United States of America or from Israel. Remember that this is exactly the point of strength that India has in this turbulent region. When it comes on the mood of the ground, nothing is changing in Palestine, Ramesh. This is a turbulent place. Palestinians are still struggling for their independence. The majority of them still consider Israel an occupying state. They are willing to fight through diplomacy and, unfortunately, not only through diplomacy in order to obtain what they think is long overdue, an independent and free state for them.
Right. Daniele and Dr. Hadi, do stay on if you will. I want to go across one more time to Ambassador Singh in the studio. Ambassador, you wanted to come in on the developing story?
So, yeah, a couple of thoughts I had based on the comments that were made. You described in detail the background to Muqata, and I recall that was the place where between 2003 and 2004, Yasser Arafat, who was then the leader, had been confined by Israeli authorities in response to the steps they were taking in response to what they said terrorist attacks from Palestinian areas on Israel during the second Intifada. So that area had some symbolic significance at that time. Dr. Modi had referred to the symbolic aspect to the visit. But, you know, in diplomacy, very often the symbolic itself is substantive.
Absolutely.
And I think the symbolism in the visit clearly has a dimension. In terms of some of the comments that Daniele made and also Dr. Modi, you can see the anguish and concerns being reflected on the Palestinian side. But things are very easy when there is one right and one wrong. The challenge arises when there are two rights. And on many issues, there is an Israeli-Jewish narrative and there is a Palestinian narrative. And the two are very different. Like people in Israel celebrate 1948 as freedom, as liberation. And in Palestine, it is marked as Nakba, disaster, because after that there was displacement of Palestinian populations who were living in areas that is now seen internationally as part of Israel. So it's a complex issue, and I think one really has to work consistently for trying to take the peace process forward, keeping everyone's interest in mind.
Right. Dr. Hadi, if you're still with us and can hear me, Ambassador Singh in the studio says it is indeed a complex issue and one which merits undivided attention of all countries in the world, in the region and beyond. But coming back to the Israeli-Palestinian narrative, as it were, now India is in a unique position. It enjoys good relations with Saudi Arabia on the one hand, Iran on the other hand, Israel and Palestine. Looking at India's relations with countries in the region and beyond, you think India can play a more influential role perhaps going forward in bringing two competing narratives to a common ground?
To start with the narratives, it's not the question of putting two equal narratives and say from here we start. It's too wrong. You have to understand the Palestinian narrative in order to see the Israeli new created, distorted narrative of facts on the ground in terms of our Nakba, in terms of our refugees, in terms of occupation, in terms of atrocities. Our narrative is not only because we are writing it and we are living it on a daily basis, it is the human values of human beings all over the world being under occupation or being colonized, and you witness the British colonization of India at the time, and you witness the atrocities. From that point, we can start not putting two equal narratives, but to understand the Palestinian trauma. This is to start with, the Palestinian trauma. The second thing, yes, of course, India and China and Japan and anybody can play a role in this endless conflict, in this impasse of today, but endless conflict, because the conflict of land, of identity, of a future.
All right, on that note, Dr. Mahdi Abdul Hadi, Daniele Pagani in Ramallah and Ambassador Singh in the studio, thank you all for joining me on the discussion this afternoon.